This is part two of the third episode of the Hypothesizzle podcast. This is a response to the Today Online article, No Friends in Real Life, where we talk about depression, diagnosing depression. So, this is still going to be a read and respond kind of thing. So, let's go into the article, diagnosing depression. Psychiatrists say there is no way to diagnose depression directly caused by the addiction to digital devices. Okay, that's a fact. They use a checklist similar to that of the American Psychiatric Association's Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. There's an acronym for that, but it's only mentioned once,
Pretty.
thankfully. But it has not been updated to include digital devices. Okay, that's another fact. To diagnose his patients, Dr. Toropov arranges regular appointments to understand their situation before making a diagnosis. This process can take a few weeks or as long as 2 to 3 years, depending on the child's condition and progress. Okay, that's interesting.
All right.
That you would need for as long as 2 to 3 years or a few weeks to really make a diagnosis of if somebody is really depressed because once again I'm no expert on this. What I know is that you have a checklist and then based on the checklist it's okay you fulfill this number of things and that might be a preliminary diagnosis of sorts.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is a pretty serious issue, and it's not like really a physical issue where you can just diagnose it over like one or two checkups. So I can kind of understand that
It,
it does take like a very long time to diagnose a problem like this.
I mean, my first response to this is I think about okay, so those people who get out of NS who are actually depressed or they may or may not be like legitimately depressed, and then they go in there they get a past D status because they claim to have severe depression and stuff like that, and then to get the exemption for national service. If it took 2 to 3 years for that to happen, now that doesn't really add up, right?
Oh yeah, the diagnostics will just not go through.
Yeah,
You already be
that
you'll
would not
be
happen,
in
right?
by then.
So
Yeah.
that's the thing that I'm looking at is okay, maybe this doesn't really add up. But it could be a very thorough process. Like there could be a preliminary diagnosis to say that this person probably has depression, and to the point to say that this person or there are various stages of depression as well, right? Or to
Yeah.
say that this person is at this stage of depression and he needs this amount of medical treatment because probably a diagnosis is not necessarily with I think a diagnosis is just simply identifying what's wrong with the person. I'm no doctor on this, but
Yeah. I mean,
perhaps the entire
yeah.
process could be including treatment and stuff like that. And it's just packaged as a very simple thing, like 2 to 3 years, right?
Yeah, it could be that as well. Of course, I don't think depression is like a very generic thing. It's not like, oh, it's a flu. So, depression is like akin to flu because if I'm not wrong, there are like different kinds of depressions as well.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, to kind of like just generalize, even like the whole like the digital device should being linked to depression is kind of like a very vague description in a way that there's like so many kinds of depression. Like, what kind of depression talking about? Like, some depressions are just kind of like not as severe, and then of course there are some that are like very bad in medic. So yeah, I mean, to kind of just lump it into it is I think it's too much of a generous statement.
Here's the favorite part of the article for me. Okay, for now it's very subjective. I often see
Yeah,
with parents and their child, and the child isn't talking to me. He's just watching something on a smartphone. That means he has a problem.
yeah. Do you
That
think
means
that's a
the
problem?
child has a problem where he is with his parents and with you, and the child is not talking to you, right? So what is
Yeah,
the problem exactly? Like if he's there watching something on the smartphone, I know they talk about this in the article later that it could be the parents, but if I'm looking at this, I think the problem's with the parents. It's
yeah. I
not
mean,
that the child is the problem, right?
there's different layers of problems, right? Like the parents might be the problem. Some might say that technology is the problem because it's kind of like sucking the guy in and the dopamine and all that crap. And then of course some might even say that we are the problem because obviously that person is kind of engaged in activity right now, watching video and shouldn't really interrupt. So
I mean, it could be just going back to this idea of what's acceptable and what's not, right?
yeah,
Like when you
right.
learn to socialize in a digital medium, and what everybody and all these young kids like to do right now, including myself and probably you, is freaking multitask. The number of people who watch something and then they have music in the background, who will watch something and then consume an audiobook, or they'll play a game and then listen to something in the background as well. It's just so many. to study and then
Yeah.
listen to something as well at the same time, and then this becomes the accepted thing within our minds, within our brains. It's like, yeah, you kind of like want to multitask and just staring at somebody, giving somebody your full attention, which is the norm and the accepted thing for people who are, I'm not gonna say well socialized, right? But
Mm.
by the standard convention, right? The standard convention is res- you give somebody your full attention to say that they have your respect, right? But
Or
this
at least
isn't
an
necessarily the case
acknowledgement of your
anymore.
presence in a sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this isn't necessarily the case anymore, and that's because of the way that people interact in online media. Because you talk to people and then you listen to music at the same time all the time through a chat medium as well. So does that mean that he has a problem? Does that mean he is likely to be depressed? Not necessarily. It could just be the way that the habits have conditioned him into this manner. Or it could be just that the parents do the same thing all the damn time as well. They just sit down there and they talk to each other while they're on their freaking smartphone. And you see that so often as well. Yeah, the World Health Organization believes that the problem is serious enough to warrant a new framework to be drawn up, as it will help doctors in Estonia and some and elsewhere with their diagnosis. Yes, yeah, this is what we are saying is that your current framework is probably faulty for you to say that he's watching something on his smartphone, therefore he has a problem. That
Yeah.
framework is faulty, right? But that's not the
Yeah.
existing framework. But if you do develop a new framework to say that okay that there is some form of legitimate addiction to digital devices, it shouldn't be just like okay, it's a check this. Does he look at his phone while he's talking to me? Is that a sign of addiction? Maybe it is. Maybe it is. But is that necessarily a bad thing, right? Is that necessarily a bad thing, or is that just a form of conditioning? Because when we talk about addiction, my understanding of it, there's physical addiction and then there's a chemical addiction. So chemically addictive things are things like heroin, where you get one hit of it and then you're chemically addicted to the drug itself. And then physical addictions are more of like habitual addictions, things that your body, well, things that condition your body to crave over a period of time, which is more closer to things like food, which is more closer to things like or it's very closely related to the release of endorphins as well as serotonin in our body. And here's the interesting thing: the thing that stimulates such responses, right? When we talk about interaction through a digital medium, it's firstly it's engineered, right? It's engineered. Ever since the days of the arcades, people have been engineering things so that you get these dopamine releases. You look at literature detailing about how casinos are designed, from the floor plan layout to the lights in the machine. We have had decades of engineering of how do we get these mild dopamine kicks by staring at a screen and oh bright lights, and then you're like a cat, right? But sometimes when we look at cats, oh, they're so easily entertaining. You turn on a piece of plastic and it's like playing with it all over the place, and then we realize, okay, this is how we can entertain a cat. Similarly, there has been decades of research as to how do you get people to be hooked onto something? How do you get them to crave these to get these dopamine hits from it? But social media doesn't necessarily wasn't necessarily engaged that way, but it has come to a point where we post something, and then when we hit the ding or something, and it's not just social media. I think like games and most things in the digital media are very over engineered. Sorry, not over engineered. They're very engineered towards being able to give us these dopamine and endorphin releases when we engage with these platforms.
Yeah. In a way, they I guess it just kind of happened, right? It's not like someone maliciously kind of like studied and tried to,
Well, I
oh,
mean,
I'm gonna implement things to
malice
make people feel good,
malice is a very dangerous term over here, right?
Yeah.
But when we talk about because malice implies that they're doing it out of ill intent, right? They're out to harm you, right? But this is
Yeah,
this is
kind of.
a case of like the road to hell is paved with good intentions kind of thing, right? That they're gonna give you so much. It's the opposite of the 1984 thing by George Orwell. Is that it's not that we're gonna give you no choices, but we're gonna give you so many choices you become paralyzed by decisions, or we're going to give you so much social interaction that your social interaction with people doesn't mean anything anymore. And
Too
that
much of a good thing is a bad. It's not might not be a good thing, pretty much.
I wouldn't necessarily it's too much of a good thing as well. And then we talk about the brain chemistry of things, right? And then we talk
Yep.
about the meme culture that's happening today. And you have those memes like the only thing I mean, especially when it comes to like depression, I see all these things being shared around on my feed. Once again, I'm no by no means an expert or doctor on like depression and stuff like that. But I see people posting it's like, the only thing I have in my life is memes and stuff like that. The only thing that I can use to fight depression is memes. And then this is like the irony man, right? Like if you ever watch Iron Man 2, there's this scene where he becomes irony man. It's like the thing that's keeping me alive is slowly killing me, right?
Yeah,
This irony man moment here where it's like, oh, the only thing that's keeping me alive are memes. The only thing I live for are memes. But
killing me.
the exact reason why you found yourself in this situation is because you have your brain chemistry has been has been you have been getting so many cheap hits of dopamine and endorphins from just being able to make some posts on social media. People like you get the ding and stuff like that, and this is what's keeping you engaged. Yet at the same time, it's the thing that's creating these problems for you because these dopamine hits are so easy for you right now that you find very low fulfillment in a lot of other things in life. I'm not
Yeah.
sure how close is that to like actual diagnosis or like actual science man depression, but that's I I I've seen some material on it, and that's why I recall the explanation behind it was.
I guess on a personal level, do have you experienced this kind of like chip thrills? I don't know. Is chip thrill a right word to use?
I mean,
Like a
I
quick
think
hit of
we all have, right? We all have, right? Like when we make a big post, we want to be proud of it. It all happens to certain degrees, right? Like especially for me, I write things. I do a podcast. I used to write a lot of content, and I would get these cheap trips when I see like engagement for it go up, and it's like, part of me rationalizes it and say, yeah, this is me engaging with people. This is me engaging an audience. This is me reaching out and engaging with friends. And but yeah, at the same time, the problem is how easy it has become. Have I done cheap and easy content? Yes, I have. I've also done long form content that takes time, and I think this podcast is a very good example of these kind of long form content where we need to sit down, we need to plan things out, and there needs to be a certain build up. But like when it comes to social media, when I'm clicking and pressing a retweet button, and then your friends are commenting on the LOL with the smiley face, and they're putting stickers of like these cats and stuff like that, and that becomes so easy because we're getting dopamine hits at a press of a button. There's no planning, there's no effort put inside, and that conditions us, right? The way I see it is that conditions us to see that very few things have value, right? Like effort isn't worth it because I can just click a meme on Facebook and I'm getting the hit of dopamine. I'm getting validation and I'm getting approval from people. So this outward need to improve myself becomes very diminished because why do that? I can just sit here and it's like LL memes. Go to these pages and then post the most.
ridiculous
It's
beam
like
or
it's
it's fun.
yeah. That's like
Oh, like a
today
lots
to,
of
today
there are
is the
lots of
Pikachu
tweet.
picture. Today's the
Yeah,
Pikachu picture. Tomorrow is the guy with is the cowboy screaming in the background, being with the soundtrack being juxtaposed over I don't know Jurassic Park or something.
yeah,
Like I mentioned the dinosaurs like starting to run and he's like ah. Okay, I
yeah.
can't do it. I can't sing the song, but you know what I'm talking about, right?
I get what you're talking about. I mean, in fact, it's not very long ago. In fact, it was pretty recent. Like I think in the past, like maybe 1 year or two, there was this period where like memes was just like a hit, and it was so serious to the point where you actually have like memes of the month. Like people actually do memes of the month, and there's actually like trendings and things like that, and people start to try to create content. Like even YouTubers and whatnot, they try and create like content around like the trending meme of the. So it's but it kind of like seems to die down a little bit now, but I think it's still there, just not as like a huge boom as how it was like a year or two.
Okay, let's just like recap the rest of the article. I mean, it talks about like how people are starting on digital devices younger and younger, and how parenting might be a problem. We touched a little bit on parenting and the young adult previously, and I do think that the article it does to some points, right? Like this is the digital age right now. The people are getting access to iPhones at the age of 7 years old. They're getting access to iPads and all these kind of things, and digital devices have proliferated every aspect of our lives, especially in Singapore, where the affordability, the buying power is significantly higher. It's not like some of the other countries in the region where you need to fork out a significant amount of money. And you see these people in primary school going to schools with iPhones. And that to me is like absolutely insane. You're going to school with $1,000 in your pocket. It's like these kids tend to like leave things all over the place and things like that. But the progression from this is like the question is the problem with parenting? I say partially yes, and then we'll cover this in the third part as to how we could say flip the script a little bit, turn things around, and try to get a positive takeaway out of all of this?